Hey, it is Monday afternoon, and I am trying to figure out how people do this. How do you say it's okay to let your dog go? I cannot figure it out. I am just overwhelmed. I'm just stressed and confused and sad. And like, he is still, he's not really eating, but he's drinking water and he occasionally eats something. And he's still going to the bathroom um, and letting us know when it's time to go to the bathroom. But oh my gosh, I just feel sick to my stomach. I am pro life. I've always been pro life. I'm anti capital punishment, anti abortion because I don't want to decide. I don't want to play God. I don't think any of us really has the power, though I know some of you do, to decide who gets to live and who gets to die. And having that power to decide when your puppy's going to be done, who's been your loyal companion. I was thinking I had him for 12 years, but I realized if it was 2008 and 18 is 10 years and it's 2023, it'll be 15 years. Like he has been here like longer than any friend. He's been here like since my business started, and he sits at my feet and he barks at me and he'd growl at other people. He barks at me only when he needs to go outside or he needs food. Like he loves being next to me. When I eat, I set him behind me on the chair, or when I'm in my office, I'm like, holy cow, how do people do this? And I know some of you have done it over and over again. In fact, here's a naughty secret about me is that if you've lost a pet and you wrote about it on Facebook, I'd block you because I couldn't read about it. I just thought, I can't imagine that. And I'm still praying he dies in his sleep. We have an appointment for 3:30 on Wednesday, and I can't imagine having to make that decision to say you're done instead of just letting him go to the closet and go to sleep. And the crazy thing about Peanut is like he has had 9 lives. Like we would call him a cat dog because where we lived in Burnsville, we had this fluffy couch with a wide back, and he would lay up there and smell hair. He loves to smell people's hair. And in particular me, he would like wrap himself around the back of me like a cat does. I guess I never had a cat, but he like has just been so loyal. And even if he liked a person, he would like kind of bark at him or growl and purr at the same time because he was so fiercely loyal to me. He didn't want to be with anyone else. And I feel like he has entrusted me, and that's why he's trusted me, is to take care of him, to be by his side, to feed him, to walk him, to take him out. And though since the hurricane, he's gone blind, and they said he had cataracts and glaucoma, and it felt like a migraine shooting through his eyeball. So we had removed one eyeball, hoping that would lessen his pain. And then when they were scheduled to remove the second eyeball, his liver enzymes were too, and so they said, no, we can't do this. And then they did an ultrasound and found a tumor on his liver. But man, it is just so hard. It feels excruciating deciding. And I keep telling myself, I'm going to be okay. I know people die. I've buried a lot of people in my life. I've gone to a lot of funerals. We know there's no way out but death. But making that decision feels horrible. And also just not having him around. Like he's always around. He is always around. He is the boss of our house. And since the hurricane, he went blind. Greg used to make fun of people with strollers, and now Greg is pushing him in a stroller. And Greg's so funny about it. He's such his caregiver. So kind of our rule is from 10 at night until about 4 a.m., Greg takes him out in the middle of the night. And from 4 a.m. on, I try to take him out. But during the day, Greg pushes the stroller and I walk Leo. And he is just his caregiver and just loves him too. And watching your husband hurt is hard, and hurting yourself is hard. And last night we just sat on the lanai. We've been trying to bring him to the beach every night and do a sunset walk. And last night I took him in the ocean. He loves to swim. My sweet friend Heather in Burnsville had a life jacket, and I would hold him in it, and he would just paddle, paddle, paddle. Leo doesn't like the water, but Peanut loves it. And Peanut even loves a shower. So trust me, Peanut and I have taken a lot of showers together because he loves the warm water, especially the attachable, like it's like a massage, warm water on his back. And I know he's miserable. I know that he's in pain and kind of done. But man, it's a hard decision. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Like, how do you do it? How do you do it and feel okay with yourself, like deciding? And I know people say, then you're relieving him from pain. You don't want him to suffer, and it's selfish. And I agree with all that, except for like we let people suffer, and we don't get rid of people because they're bossy or crabby or have bad eyes or have cancer. And we could have called on an oncologist, but they didn't recommend it. And he hates shots and he hates going to the doctor. But he loved the pill pockets because he's highly motivated by treats. Peanut is such a funny dog. Like literally has had 9 lives, and literally we had him for maybe 3 weeks, and we went to see our son in Mankato, and our son and us had a meeting to go to. And so his roommate said, we'll watch the dog. And he was still a puppy, and we came back and we picked up Peanut. We were driving back to Burnsville, and they called us and they were like, Mrs. Meehan, we're really sorry, but we need to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, what happened? They're like, oh, your dog ate 3 packs of gum, including the foil wrappers. What? So we didn't think he'd make it through his first 3 weeks with us and not make it past a year. And then a few years later, one of Megan's friends was coming over and it was raining out, and Peanut had ran. We used to have neighbors up the street where Heather lives, Carrie used to live, and Peanut loved that house. There was another dog there named Romeo, and he would just go up there partially to see Romeo, partially because Heather and Carrie would give him treats, and he liked that. But he was running up there in the dark, in the rain somehow, and we tried electric fences, but our dogs would run through them, and he got hit by a car in the rain. And he got hit and ran over, and then he bounced back, and he was scared, kind of shaken from it, but then he just bounced back and he was good as gold. And then one time, I don't know what happened to him actually, but we had woods in our backyard, and he ran to the back, and I could tell something was wrong, and he would start foaming at his mouth, which this dog has probably eaten, I don't know, 20 to 50 poisonous frogs. And he would just foam at the mouth and throw up, and then he'd be good to go. But this time he went and hid in the woods and laid down like he was ready to die, and he had foam coming out of his mouth. And my husband and I grabbed him. We wrapped him in a blanket. We raced him. Of course, it was a weekend emergency room vet, and we raced him to the emergency room. And they're like, he's got a stick stuck in his throat, and it's stabbing him, and he's not going to make it. And they ended up putting him on a ventilator. And they were trying to encourage us to go to the University of Minnesota and get a trach on him. And I ended up calling my friends Cindy and Ruth because they had owned a lot of dogs and we had never owned dogs before, and said, okay, what do we do? Do we go and get a trach on him? And they said, no, you don't do that to a dog. And we're like, really? We don't know. We weren't ready. We were so sad, and we were praying. And it was 2 a.m. And basically there was a team of people, and they had him on a ventilator, and they said, we're going to take him off and he's going to die. But if you want to come say goodbye, you can. And I just always have believed in the power of miracles. And I was just praying, Lord, I don't think it's his time, and we're certainly not ready. Please don't make this his time. And we came and we said goodbye. And before we came, they said, just so you know, this bill so far is $16,000. Now, we had no idea, and we didn't ask. $16,000. So we're kind of having a heart attack about the money. We're crying because we think our dog's dying, and we're pacing the lobby praying. It's 2 a.m. We're the only ones there. And we came back and said goodbye. And she said, okay, do you want me to remove it while you're here or not? And we said, okay, we're going to sit with him. He's scared, and I want him to know I'm here. I'm talking to him Peanut buddy, I'm here. You don't have to go yet. And she pulls out the ventilator, and he sits up, and she's like, okay, you better go out for a minute. I don't know what's going on. We ended up leaving the room, and he came back up, and literally that whole staff was like, we don't know what happened. I'm like, oh, I know what happened. A miracle happened. I trust in the power of prayer, and I believe in miracles, and God wasn't ready for him yet. Neither were we ready to let him go. And then she ends up saying, I'm so sorry. It's so expensive. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, $16,000. And then she said, it's almost $2,000. It's $1,600. And though that is still a lot of money, it felt like a miracle, a second miracle in the midst of us thinking it was $16,000. And we both heard it because we were like, did one of us hear that wrong? And we're like, oh no. So I think it was 2 a.m. She was tired. She was trying to prepare us. Do we want to let him go? And just through the moves and through the horrible things he finds outside and eats, and through the drive twice to Florida, and through going in a kennel and flying twice, which he does not like. He is not a kennel dog. He's been spoiled his whole life with table food and with sleeping in our bed and sleeping at our floor and climbing on the couch. but he's part of our family, and maybe it was hard for Alex, our youngest, because all of a sudden we had a new youngest, but I actually got him on Alex's birthday party when we did A Minute to Win It, and we brought home a dog. But man, they're just magical, and I'm allergic to dogs my whole life, so I never could have one and haven't been around them. But a Shih Tzu doesn't shed, and I think he's a Shih Tzu pug, and he's always kind of struggled to breathe, but he chokes now. And anyway, I don't know how you do it. So that's what I'm looking for in the comments. First of all, how the heck do you make this decision? And second of all, how do you get through it? And it's certainly different than losing a human, but it's also part of our family and part of our hearts and our home. And I just can't imagine what it's going to be like not having Peanut bosses around. So if you have suggestions on how to heal from it and how to say yes when it's hard, we would appreciate those, because we know many of you have gone before us and made this very difficult decision. So God bless you. Thank you for listening. And please keep us and Peanut in your prayers this week, that he goes to sleep and doesn't wake up and we don't have to make this difficult decision. God bless.